lucky enough to run across Eric Bowman. He's one of my favorite artists, and we show his work periodically. And the thing about you is you have an original, unique voice. And I thought maybe we could just share a little bit about more of a long format, how you got from illustration, which was your thing, and terrific illustrator, to more of your own interpretation of the West.
That's a big question.
That's a huge question.
It took a long time too.
Yeah.
It was about, and part of it's an economical, element.
Sure.
I was working as an illustrator full time, family, mortgage, the whole bit, and when I discovered fine art and wanted to get into that, it was about a 12-year period of taking, and I'd started working in oils maybe 5 or 6 years before this period in my commercial stuff.
Yeah.
So, but getting into fine art, taking the oils with me, it was still a big jump because, when you're a commercial artist, you have an art director telling you what to do.
Right, and when to do it.
And when to do it by this time, we need it tomorrow.
Right.
And then they often want to change stuff, so you got to go back and rework something,
Right.
which I hate doing because nobody wants to work on something you've already done.
Right.
The good part of that is that you do have somebody helping you figure problems out and directing you. In fine art, you're on your own. You have to come up with the concept and figure it all out by yourself, and then hope you did the best. You could have your family critique you, and friends give you tips, but you're kind of on your own.
But that's the best part of it.
It is. Well, I always thought that illustrators or commercial artists eventually just morphed into fine artists because
I kind of think that's
most
true.
of them have. The guys, at least all the dead guys, the golden age illustrators, a lot of those guys, they went through their commercial period because they needed the money, and it was a good training ground. But eventually they wanted to really capitalize on developing their own voice if they didn't already have one, and then go with their own, have the freedom to do their own ideas and flesh out, their dreams of being a fine artist and really saying something. Now, I don't know if I'm really saying anything with my art yet.
I think you are.
But I have gotten way away from what I used to do commercially, that's for sure. Yeah.
And you can see that, right? I mean, what's your website for? There was some that you have or face or
Yeah, I did another social media site that says it's called What I Used to Paint.
Yes.
And it's all my commercial
And
stuff.
you should go see it. It's very interesting. I've done that. And one of the things you'll learn when you do it is it really shows your skill set, really, quite frankly. You see that and you go, oh my God, this guy can really paint. And then you take that, and then I see it transition. I see the transition. Skill set's still there, but the transition of how you see the world and how you interpret it.
Yeah, and it's
through.
Greg, I think it was Greg Beecham talking today, and he was saying that, I think it was T. Allen Lawson was telling him that he's finding painting becoming more difficult as he goes on, the further in his career, where other people might think, well, it ought to get easier because you're doing it so much and for so long.
Right.
But if you have any integrity at all and you keep challenging yourself,
that's right.
you're going to keep running into new problems to solve, and that's going to sharpen your skills even more.
Yeah.
But the skills I brought, I always downplay this, but if I had any skills at all, was drawing. And a lot of commercial stuff I did had to do with drawing, or I did a lot of airbrush, really detailed little triple-aught brushes and stuff that I hate now. Now I want to be more painterly, like the Russian Impressionists, or like the Taos painters that I love, and that's just mileage on canvas, trial and error, just keep doing it and doing it. So it's not getting easier. I keep challenging myself, but I'm getting more comfortable.
And you're getting better. Even. I would say it. I mean, better.
Well, hopefully,
I mean, better in the sense for me is compositionally. When I see some of these pieces, that's different. That's new. The screen you did a few years ago. So.
Yeah, the scary part though is I keep finding things that I feel like I should have known about, rules of the trade, but because I was never, I didn't go to art school. I wasn't academically trained. I'm learning stuff by studying other artists, past and present, that I probably would have learned in art school, maybe. But this is just the way it's gone. So I'm thankful that I'm learning stuff as I go, and I know there's still a lot more to learn.
Yeah.
But
that's saying a lot, actually, at your stage of your career, and I love that when I hear that from an artist. artist. I heard Ed Mell say that once to me too.
Oh yeah.
He's like 68 or so when he
Yeah.
says that, and he's already killing it.
No, I know.
But
It's
when I hear an artist say, I still have miles to go, I'm not there, even though you've been painting 40 years, 35 years?
40, 42.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's a key. If I hear that word, that means.
I think that's the
going to-
integrity that
Yeah,
every
that's
artist
right.
should have. That,
Yeah.
on my deathbed, I'm going to still be wishing that, I'm going to be critiquing one of my own paintings, saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, dang it, I should have gone back and did this or that." That's, it's a never-ending school.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending challenge, and I enjoy it though. So
Yeah, clearly, chef.
yeah,
And I think you're doing the
and I
best work of your
appreciate
life,
what you
actually.
say about it, and I appreciate being in Medicine Man Gallery
Well,
too.
we appreciate having you, and I can't tell you the number of people that ask about your work who say, tell me the story of this guy. I love his work. It's interesting because you've been painting 42 years. You're like Billy Bob Thornton, all of a sudden, boom, people are like, okay, I know who this is. I want to see more of his
but
work.
remember that 42, the first 30 was just illustration.
Yeah, I know, that's why.
So then there's the overlap of 12 years or so,
Yeah.
and then the last 15 years or whatever.
15 years.
So, but
And Ed didn't start doing fine art until he was almost 40. He was
Yeah.
an illustrator up to that point.
well, so name another vocation where you actually can peak late in life.
yeah,
Like sports guys, forget it. You're done by 30 if you're lucky.
yeah.
But you take somebody like Maxfield Parrish was painting top form when he died at 96.
Yeah,
It's like I'm hopeful.
Tebow.
So
Also
Right.
top at 100.
So I hope my better paintings are still ahead
yeah.
of me,
Yeah. I know
Yeah.
Ed's definitely were there. I got one of his last paintings, a fantastic painting.
Yeah.
And and I told him, I was like, oh my God, you're just getting better. And some artists do. Dixon was just getting better. He just had a health issue and he couldn't do
Right.
it.
Sure.
But you're still curious, you're learning, and which a lot of these artists would go, my God, that's impossible, but it's true. And I can see it as a dealer watching you just in the few years we've represented you, how your artwork has evolved. And, this song piece that you have, which will show an image of, one of the best paintings
Well,
I've seen.
Thank you, Mark. To throw in a little negative plug, there are some art. Well, when you're a commercial artist and your agent
Yeah.
and clients see a style or a look, they want you to keep doing that thing
Yeah,
because
sure.
it sells. And there's a danger there. Some fine artists I've seen, nobody in this show, will get to a plateau and it's
Yeah.
like they're getting success. And so they just want to ride that wave and just keep doing the same kind of thing.
Right.
I don't want to ever fall into that ditch. So I'm real careful about that.
It's clear, too.
Yeah, people notice it.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you can see
I
it.
talk to artists about this, that you can't get stale. Just because, even me, let's say I get an artist who I know they can do a certain style, certain type of imagery, right, very specific, and I can sell it every time. I don't want them to do
But
that.
you don't want to do that either.
I don't want to do that. I want to see the challenge and the push and everything else.
That's why I'm still in your gallery, even though I haven't given you anything lately,
Yeah.
but it's coming. And I'm only in 2 galleries, yours and Maxwell Alexander, and both of you guys care about the artists and want to promote their careers and want to see them keep growing.
Yeah.
I've been in I don't know, 20 galleries, and I've been in some that don't really care one way or the other, or some that just want you to do what was popular last week.
Yeah, I just hate that.
No, so
Yeah.
that's why I got rid of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, where's the fun and challenge for us too?
No, right. If it was easy, I wouldn't do it. I'd
Yeah.
become bored.
Yeah.
But I love the challenge, and especially when I do something that I feel good about, I think is successful, and to have the honor to be in a show like this is like the pinnacle.
Yeah, this is the pinnacle show. This Prix West is where we're filming this,
Yeah.
2025. So when you're watching this 10 years from now, you'll watch how it's progressed. I guarantee you're going to see even more change, even more interesting things from you.
And hopefully I'll still be here,
You will.
in this show.
Your art will.
This is my
for sure.
6th year anyway,
Wow.
so
Yeah, I mean,
goes fast.
You were one of the artists I said, I can hardly wait to see what he's done. Because I know it's going to be a variety. I know it's going to be really good because you put some of the best things, you put an effort, you want to show people, listen, this is what I'm capable
Well,
of.
in this venue, you want to put the best you can do.
You should.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it shows. So congratulations,
Thanks, man.
I'm just so excited for you and all you're accomplishing.
Well, I appreciate it.
So great.
You've been a big help.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know
Absolutely.
about that, but
No, you have.
it's just, when you get an artist that you can resonate with, not only as a person, but also as just with their art. That's the sweet spot. Got Brett Ellen Johnson. I stole you, basically, from the Prix show. And, you know, you and I are talking about this painting, which to me moves me. I like it. Maybe we can talk just a little bit about your process when you do a piece like this.
The process is really specific to each painting because I'll take from anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere I need to, or wherever it finds me, I guess. This one was, I kind of got the idea for it while I was driving and couldn't stop on my way somewhere. But
this is in Utah, right?
in Utah, yeah. So this is about 2 hours west of my house.
Yeah.
I like to wander out there. There's a bunch of, it's really classic Great Basin. A lot of time it's mostly brown, kind of boring, but every now and then, like here we have the first snow of winter that's just touched the caps of the mountains here. They're not really tall ones over there,
Right.
and so the clouds kind of have to sneak down on top of them a little bit. So sometimes you'll get something that it just lights that whole place up with drama, and it's always exciting like that. And
did you go out specifically? You go, okay, I'm going to go out. We got to snow. It's the time, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was out, but I was rushing home.
Yeah.
And so I saw it. I didn't have time to get out and paint or get out and sketch.
Right.
So I tried to just keep it in mind.
Right.
All the way home. I put both hands on the steering wheel.
Right.
Try to just remember the
That
image, because once
vision.
I get a real image, if I can keep it in there, I can do it. So then I went home the next day
And so when you get
sketched
home,
it
you
out.
have it in your mind. You've seen it, you know, and I can get it. You know, I understand when you see that. And then you can go literally to the next day, and do you put like a little drawing or a little painting, or do you just go for it?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'll work it out on, like, start in a traditional way with a thumbnail drawing that's
Right.
really small, keeps everything simple, and then maybe a color study and then a painting.
Right.
Other times, this one I knew what I wanted, and I stretched a
You saw
canvas
it.
and started this one.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
And so how long does it take? And, I asked this question. It doesn't really matter how long things take, because it could take 5 minutes or it can take 3 weeks. But
It really can, yeah.
yeah, I know. So on something like this, how fast did that come out of you?
Well, I knew this is the thing that I hope never stops happening, is that my vision was a little ahead of my ability to my technique, my ability to get it there. So that next day I went and did my drawing. I kind of use a process where I just put some earth color on, and then I'll wipe it
Right.
it's lighter and draw some more on, and I
Right
draw,
on the canvas.
I draw much better
Yeah.
that way than I do with charcoal, or
Yeah.
the way Thomas does. But I did that, and then I kind of started doing building up just a little bit of color, and then I couldn't figure out what was gonna make it work. I think I was trying to make it a higher key painting, which is kind of my go-to place.
Right.
And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get what I wanted, so I put it away for, it got put away for about a year.
Wow.
And then I brought it out and saw it with fresh eyes, and then I realized that I needed to go lower key. I needed to emphasize the lights rather
Right.
than the shadows. I design with shadows a lot, and you can see that here
Yes.
still, but see that here as well. But I wanted to change the emphasis on it, and
Could you still
that's when I
see
knew
it?
how to do it.
Could you still see it in your mind a year later? That image when you were driving by and go, I got it. I got to see it. You come, you put it, you do this. It takes a year to go back to. Is that image still in your mind, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I would think it
So
might be.
I can't necessarily, I can remember the landscape that it came from pretty well, but I remember much better usually when I have a painting like that where I've seen something, and then I've gone right home and kind of went to town on it, and I remember it really
Right.
well. When I do that, I remember the image of the painting I want to make.
Right.
But you know how it is. It's funny. It's like you can see it clearly, but then when you find you need to put it somewhere, it's not as clear as you thought it was, and so
Yeah.
sometimes it needs to rest before you can.
Right. A year in this case,
You're
right?
like, I can picture what I want, but I I don't understand the mechanisms to make it work that way yet.
Yeah.
And so hopefully I never quite catch up to that, even though it's frustrating.
And is that common for you to do, where you'll set something aside for an entire year?
It's pretty common, yeah.
It is interesting.
I prefer it not to happen because it's frustrating, because you obviously
Right.
you want to get it done, but
Right.
but it happens, and when it does, that's the right thing to do with it.
Yeah.
So.
And you probably ruminate on it. It's probably there, and they're still there in the studio. You occasionally
You
probably
do.
go by and see it and think.
So ideally, you
assuming.
can find something else to get distracted with.
Yes.
Turn it to the wall so you don't think about it too
Is that
much.
what you do? You'll actually literally, okay, I don't want to see this.
Yeah, I have a drying rack that's kind
yeah.
of tucked away.
Yeah, yeah.
Where
It'll come when it's supposed to
don't
come.
have a very big studio, so I have
Right.
kind of a small area where I can stuff paintings
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are building up for a show or something like that. And so yeah, I'll just shove it in there and
Yeah.
and
Wait.
wait till I'm done with another one, or
Right.
wait till the light bulb clicks, you know.
And when it clicked for you, it was like, forget high key. Let's go with the light dark kind of contrast.
Yeah, I took the whole painting and I just, once I realized that's what I want, I pulled it all out, took some dark colors and just rubbed them all over it. Kind of gave it a new start. That way it kind of wrecks what you had before, so that you
Right.
don't get married to some of the little passages that maybe were pretty cool.
Right.
Maybe you were working on one spot and,
Right.
and you really kind of like latched onto it, even though it was the wrong thing for the painting.
Right. And then you have to go, okay,
Yeah, so
we got
now
to
you have
relook
to
at
say,
it.
cover those up.
Yeah.
We're going to have to readdress it.
Yeah, it's like writing for me.
Yeah.
You know, I might have these great passages I love. They don't work in the plot line. You just got to say bye. You
Yeah.
know, maybe you keep one little component of it, and
Yeah.
then
I remember reading something that some artist had said about that a long time ago, and it stuck with me. They'd said sometimes you have to kill your darlings.
yeah, that's so true. You know, I've always heard, like, you know, don't become attached to the words. Mm-hmm. So don't fall in love with them, even if it's great. I'm sure you do the same
And
thing.
there's some sadness to it, isn't there?
Sometimes,
Because
I'm sure.
Sometimes you found some little bit of magic somewhere.
Right.
But you just know you have to. It's hard to learn to trust that if you did that one time, you can do it again.
Yeah, so you
somewhere
have
else,
to. But it gets
in the right
easier,
painting
right,
for
as
it.
time goes on. Right, you've been painting for quite a while now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it does, but that part does.
Yeah,
Because you learn to trust that you will be able to,
reproduce.
redo whatever that magic you
Yeah.
found. You'll use it in the right place.
I
somewhere
like this
else.
term magic, because this is how I look at it for writing. Because you can't really explain it, right?
Yeah, isn't that what we're all looking for? And if
Yeah, I
I
think
could
so.
write it, I wouldn't have to paint it.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, it's just magic.
And if I could paint it,
But
I
as
wouldn't
you're
have to
going-
write it.
Right. So as you're writing,
Right.
you end up with a passage that
Yeah.
you go, this is more than just the sum of the words that it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I look for in paint.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got it in this one. I mean, we were walking over, and I was talking about it because I really love this painting. That it felt to me like the funeral painting that Victor Higgins did, which is my all-time favorite Taos painting.
It's a magic painting.
It is a magic painting. It is, but this is too. And
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it is. And you were saying to me, and I love this, is that when you are painting something like that, all these influences are in your mind. You can't get rid of them. They're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But you try to catch yourself if you're going there. So yes, it still influences you, but you can flip it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good to, and that took me a long time to learn too,
I
and
bet.
I'm still learning because we have 1,000 different influences on,
Yeah.
on where we learn to see, where we learn to create an image.
Yeah, of course.
But it definitely is good to try to consciously catch it when it's your idea that maybe was influenced,
Right.
or when it really is not your idea.
Yeah,
And
right.
that way you can know, okay, yeah, I can lean on, like there was probably times in here where I thought I'm going to lean on Higgins just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm doing different things with shape. And,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So then it can make sense, and sometimes you catch it and go, yeah, I think that's a really integral part of this idea, so I should probably scrap it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you realize when the core of the idea is yours, you can lean on the people that have taught you to see.
Yeah. You just have to have the core.
But when you learn to catch it, sometimes you catch it and it's a little more than that, and you know damn well it is. And then it's really hard to let it go because you love
Right.
that painter so much. But
But you do.
but you have to let it go.
Yeah. That's a hard thing to
It
do.
is. It's,
I don't know
it's
if
been
many,
hard for me to learn.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
for
know how
sure.
many artists do that, honestly.
I think the good ones have to. Otherwise,
Yeah.
how can you? Sometimes learning about what you want, learning about your own vision, is more about learning what it isn't. And
What it isn't.
And so
Yeah.
you can start to recognize what it is that you loved in the painters that influenced you,
Yeah.
without kind of just trying to be them.
Yeah. I think that's a profound statement. What it isn't. You know, that is how you find your voice. Is finding out what it isn't.
Yeah, it's a distillation, is how I
Yeah,
think of it.
because that's the key thing for me, an artist, is finding those artists that have that vision, whatever it is, that voice, and they've had to go through this process, clearly, that like you do, is finding out what it isn't.
Yeah.
You know.
And I see that with an individual painting too. Like a good painting is essentially taking the ideas, and then they always come with so much extra baggage, and it's figuring out which parts of that are really the essential parts, the only parts that need to be there.
Yeah.
It's always a reduction of what really needs to be there. And the further down that road you get, the more you realize that the only way to know that, when you can do anything you want, is what parts of this are important to me personally. What part of these are important to my vision, and which ones are extraneous to that, which ones are just...
So every painting is personal to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every painting is a chance to figure out what I care about in painting,
And life.
and painting is just a reflection of life. So
Yeah, yeah. Because I've noticed of late that I see a variety of things that you're doing, that you're, I would say stretch, because you're trying different figures. Like this piece here is different.
Yeah.
It has, and one of the things I loved about this painting was the layers of the sky that you did.
okay.
Yeah, because you could take out that figure and you have an abstracted kind of painting which is unique and onto itself.
You might have a little Mark Rothko in there.
Absolutely, 100%. That's the first thing that struck me about that painting, actually, was I looked at this component of the background. The figure went away for me, and I could just see this. Figure's great, but there's two paintings in one in that particular, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you don't have a traditional format where you have a really clear foreground, middle ground, background.
Right.
You know,
Right.
With the portrait, it really is kind of a portrait and then a decorative backdrop.
Yeah.
You know.
What was the hardest part, if there was a hard part, of that painting?
Of this one?
Yes.
Well, partly it's not my wheelhouse for
Yeah.
painting, so
Right.
I had to stumble through a lot of technique trying to
Right.
get what I wanted from it. And then I think the other hardest part was figuring out what backdrop I wanted to complement the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
How I wanted to tell this story without beating people over the head with it.
Yeah. Well, you didn't beat them over the head with it, for sure.
Uh,
Yeah. I bet most people when they look at that painting, they don't see the backdrop.
I've also, but back to what you said before that, nobody's asked about the backdrop. And then I've had so many people come to me and say, we were talking to our whole group of friends, and nobody knows what this is, and nobody understands why this. And
Right.
It's generated a lot of questions, which to me is a sign that it actually worked.
Absolutely.
That's really...
Emotions, questions, those are all positive signs.
It makes them curious about it.
Right.
And that, if a painting can do that, it's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it did it for me too. I did stop and go, okay, this is different. What I actually thought was the most successful, besides the backdrop, which I did really love, were the hands. I thought you really got the hands.
Oh, thank
and
you.
it surprised me that when I think of you as a landscape painter primarily.
Right.
And I thought, my God, he can do the hands. Yeah.
I won't say that I didn't. I did struggle with them a little bit, but I reworked them until I didn't need to anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I kept going until I
You
got
got
it. But
Yeah, because I asked that question because I wondered if that could have been the hard part.
there was one.
Yeah.
It had definitely crossed my mind a few times that I was like, yeah, everybody knows me as a landscape guy,
Yeah.
so I know I'm going to have to get these hands right.
Right.
Because everybody
Yeah.
knows the hands
Yep.
mean a lot.
First thing
They
I
have a
looked
lot
at
of
after the
expression.
backdrop, after I saw the landscape in the back, then I went to the hands and it was like, oh yeah.
I mean, everyone notices eyes and mouth,
Yeah.
the expression. They tell a lot of the
Right.
story, but people who are used to looking at that, they notice the hands.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Brett Allen Johnson, you can do hands, you can do mountains, you can do landscapes. You're an exceptionally talented guy.
Well, thank you so much,
I
Mark.
thank you for taking the time at Prix West here to talk about a couple of your paintings.
I'm
I know
glad
you
you're
got
here.
lots to do, and it's very interesting.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you're here, Mark.
Yeah. All right. Brett Allen
You
Johnson.
too, Charles.